It's time for The Story Behind the Person, featuring lively, in-depth conversation with compelling guests from our community. And here is our host, Jonathan Van Bilsen.
Municipal politics is quite often a thankless job, and it takes a certain type of person to approach it with enthusiasm, dedication, and a positive attitude. My guest today is Wilma Wotten, the newly elected mayor of Scugog Township. We'll learn all about Mayor Wotten and what it's like to be in politics. We'll be right back after these messages.
Top care with top stylists. Book your next hair appointment with Port Perry's award-winning hair salon, Rosario Greco Styles. The hair experience you deserve. Book today. Call 905-985-0099.
At Voss, your independent grocer, it's all about hometown living and shopping. Owned and operated by Terry and Christine Voss, their newly renovated Port Perry store carries many local items to support our town and its residents.
Welcome back. As I mentioned, my guest today is the mayor of Scugog Township, Mayor Wilma Wotten. Your worship, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, should I call you Mayor Wotten or?
Please call me Wilma.
Wilma, all right. Thank you. So we have a lot in common in that we're both Dutch.
Is that good or bad?
Well, there's the old saying, if you're not Dutch, you're not much.
I heard that many, many times.
Indeed. So your parents moved, you were very young. Oh, you were born here. You were born in Oshawa, correct?
Correct.
Your parents moved here from the Netherlands and started life, and you have siblings?
I do. I have 3 sisters and a brother.
My goodness, typical Dutch family, right? Lots of them.
Yes.
Now, if I understand correctly, your father, who just turned 93, still lives on the farm that they moved to when they first came here. Is that right?
Well, he still lives on the farm that he moved to after I was born.
Okay. So they
didn't immigrate together. They immigrated separately.
Okay, so they met here.
Mm-hmm.
And they moved to Oshawa, right?
They lived in Oshawa,
yeah.
Yes.
And then bought the farm, and that's where he's still living in that same place now.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
The memories, if those walls could speak, I'm sure that would be interesting. So I take it then you attended Cartwright?
I attended Cartwright.
Right.
Yep.
And now, I'm fairly new to Scugog. I've only been here 30-some odd years. So
you're a newbie.
I'm a newbie, I know. I keep hearing that. So obviously, if you're raised in Cartwright area, you went to school there, you have a lot of good memories and a lot of love, for lack of a better word, for the place, right?
Absolutely.
Which is great. So you said you're one of 5 children, which is great, and you worked at Hank's Pastries.
I did. I did. I also worked at Flamingo.
I made a note of that. Flamingo is now Maple Leaf Foods, right?
It is.
And is that the one on Old Simcoe?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So at Hank's, what were you doing? Were you baking? Were you serving?
We made a wonderful Western.
Really?
Yes.
That would be good. So it was a restaurant then already, right?
Yes. It had a nice counter. Rather than a sit-down, what it became, it had a counter, and it was a popular spot.
I remember that, actually. It was like you would get up and order your food, and then you'd sit at the counter and eat it, right? And then they finally went to the takeout, and now it's just a bakery again.
Yes.
Yeah, which is still great. I mean, they still make the best apple fritters in the world.
It was always a good place to go for a lunch, though.
Yeah, it was. Or breakfast, absolutely, without question. Yeah. So Flamingo, you went from Hank's to Flamingo's, or the other way around?
No, the other way around.
Okay. So you got promoted, went to Hank's.
Yeah, yeah. I was only 15 when I worked at Flamingo.
I think that was before my time in this area. And now there was also a Flamingo restaurant, right, on Queen Street, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't recall that.
They're known for their butter tarts, no? Flamingo pastries.
Well, we made them. Yes.
Okay. There's a connection with Mother Jackson somewhere in there. Or is that?
Yeah, they were the owners, and they made Flamingo. They made, I think, Granny's butter tarts as well. And it always surprised me that the only difference was the number of raisins in them.
Oh, did you bring some butter tarts with you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's fine. So you also picked strawberries, I'm told.
I did.
Now, was that on a family farm, or was that?
I did pick strawberries on my grandfather's farm in Orono when I was quite young, and then in my young teenage years, I picked them here somewhere, but I don't remember the area. I was a pro strawberry picker. Yeah, we always had challenges.
So now you have grandchildren. Do you still go out picking strawberries with them?
No, I leave that to the parents.
Yeah, okay. Now, the family farm, what sort of farm was it that you guys had?
We started with dairy, and then it became a beef farm after my father had a tractor accident.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay. All right. And is it a working farm now? Obviously, he doesn't farm, but does he rent the land out?
He rents the land out.
Okay, so it's
for
still
cash cropping.
Still a farming area. Interesting. So I understand that you got the travel bug when you were quite young. You finished high school. You decided to go trekking around Europe with a friend.
I did.
And for what, 4 months, 5 months, something like that?
4 months.
Backpacking?
Yes.
Where'd you go?
Well, we started in Amsterdam.
That's good.
And we had relatives there, so that was our emergency rescue place if we needed it. And then we went to France. We did Austria, Germany, Denmark, because my girlfriend's family was from Denmark. And yeah, basically that's was the trek, rail pass, and youth hostels. So
it's interesting. It would be it's difficult now, I think, for two young girls to travel on their own. It's not the same anymore, right? Anywhere in the world.
I would never have wanted my daughter to do it.
Yeah, but it was okay for you to do it.
Yeah.
Back then. Now, did you speak Dutch or?
Not very well.
No,
not very well. My parents were busy learning English.
I found one of the things I was in Amsterdam a couple of years ago, and nobody speaks Dutch.
No.
Everybody speaks English. Everybody. Yeah. It freaked me out because I was ready to speak Dutch and order stuff, but most of the people, it's a melting pot, right? So most of the people come from different countries and stuff. So English becomes the common denominator, which is interesting. Which country did you like best?
I think I actually liked Denmark.
Yeah.
It was just different from a lot of the other European countries in my mind. And yeah, I like Denmark.
Yeah, it's Scandinavia, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of people confuse the Danes and the Dutch. I don't know if you find that or not, but I get a lot of people. No. It's always good when a guest doesn't agree with the questions. But, so you decided that you were going to get into the travel industry. When you came back, you attended Seneca College and their travel and hospitality course, travel and tourism.
I did. I did.
And then you graduated, full-fledged travel person, and went to work at Sears.
I did.
And is that in Oshawa area?
It was in the shopping center at the time.
Okay. Wow. Snatched up, for lack of a better word, by Mitchell Travel, also in Oshawa.
Yes.
And Mitchell became Kemp.
Kemp. Yeah.
Which you're still there today.
I am, as an outside sales.
Right. They've gone through a lot of mergers. The company's gone through a lot of mergers, but you've been there the whole time. I also understand that when your first child was born, you were able to take him.
I took him, and he often was beside me on the floor sleeping.
Really?
He was a really good sleeper.
Oh, that's good. That's great. But I imagine the travel industry can be done from home without any issues.
Now it can. Now it's we do still have several offices, but we have lots of outside sales.
Yeah, it makes sense. You don't have to be in one location. I mean, you're not going to get a lot of people. That noise, by the way, is a dog barking. I don't know where that's coming from, but in case you hear that in the background. Most of the travel arrangements and that can be made anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And because people work in that, I'm assuming you're doing a lot of stuff in the evenings, or did.
If I do any travel planning now, it's evening time.
Okay. And do you get to go on trips?
I try. I try to keep that as part of my life, work, play balance.
Well, you need to. I mean, traveling is fantastic. If you enjoy traveling, it's the only way to go. And I mean, you can be mayor anywhere, right? You can, from a beach in Mexico to a hotel in Cancun or in Cuba or something.
The only place I had trouble was on the ship in South America.
Because of internet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of drawbacks to this job, isn't there?
Yeah, it's tough. Mm-hmm.
No kidding. So then in high school, you met your husband, Tom.
Actually, we probably met long before that.
Okay.
We went to grade school from grade 1 up.
But you asked him to go to the Sadie Hawkins dance.
I did.
And I don't know if they still have that or not, but the Sadie Hawkins used to be, wasn't that a dance where you dress up like hillbillies and the girls asked the guys to go?
We did. Well, I don't know if everybody did, but we did.
Yeah. I was never asked. That's why I don't know much about it. Yeah. But, so you guys obviously hit it off. You were married in the 80s, early 80s. Now you have 3 boys and a girl.
I do.
Wonderful. And 3 grandchildren?
3 with 2 on the way.
Wow. My goodness. My goodness.
Exciting days.
So, so then your life sort of progressed into, you didn't jump into politics as such, but I understand that around 1998 there was a developer in the Cartwright area who had purchased a bunch of land, an area of land, and wanted to build houses, but couldn't make it work.
We convinced him he couldn't make it.
There you go. We being a group of concerned citizens?
Yes.
So then you went to Township and got them to purchase the land?
Yes. I tracked down the developer.
Okay.
And then called and asked if he wouldn't sell the land. And, and he said as long as we weren't going to develop it, I said it would be for park. Then he entertained the idea.
Okay, so he had owned it for a while, couldn't make it work, and didn't want you to build houses there, obviously.
Right.
So, and the township was pretty. Now, was that Mayor Pierce's reign, or was that prior to that?
I spoke with Marilyn about how to get council to buy in.
Okay.
So, but I don't recall if she was mayor at the time.
Right, she would have been she was a councilor before she was mayor, right?
Yes,
So it could have been during her time. And were they pretty receptive to that? Do you remember?
Yes, I think for the most part, very receptive, actually.
Oh, good. Good. Obviously it worked, it's still there. And then you became the first chairperson.
I did.
And it was called the Cartwright Sports and Recreation Group,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so as chairperson, like, what did you do? What were your duties?
Everything.
Okay.
Make sure I had a committee that could work to build the park. And we basically built the park.
And the park consists of what?
2 ball diamonds and a soccer field and 2.5 kilometers of trails.
Wow. The trails is intriguing. I mean, I noticed that when I was looking into some of this stuff. I did not realize that there were the trails there. I know that there was the ball diamonds and such. You were with that for quite a while, right?
I just resigned as chair last year.
That's pretty. That's quite a while.
That's quite a while.
Quite a while.
Quite a while.
Anyways, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the mayor side of things and how that's doing for you. So
okay.
Please stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages.
PP Print is excited to offer Port Perry wearables, featuring 2 great designs. Show your Scugog pride with apparel and headwear. We have you covered. PP Print, more than just print.
Welcome back. My guest today is the Mayor of Scugog Township, Mayor Wilma Wotten. Wilma, welcome back. So just before we left for commercial, we were talking about the Cartwright Fields, which is interesting. I don't know that much about them, but you had mentioned during the break that you have a corrugated road, so I'm picturing like a bunch of cardboard boxes laid out, which is obviously not the case. So what is a corrugated road? It's
a corduroy road, and it's made with we pulled logs out of the forest that is there and laid them across where we wanted the paths to go, and then we just covered them with wood chips and have been doing so for probably 15 years.
Wow.
So there's it's really quite lovely.
Yeah, I must go up there and take a look. I understand too it's the most used park in the entire township of Scugog.
Well, I'd like to take those bragging rights, but I can't qualify that.
Okay, that's the information I have. There's 2 baseball diamonds, a soccer field, a children's playground, and as you mentioned, a network of walking trails. 2.5 kilometers?
I think that around that.
And of course, a community center, which is used a lot, I assume, right?
Yeah.
And so as chairperson of that group for a long time, you obviously got a taste of the political side of things, especially dealing with the township, because I'm sure there's frustrations that when you're a chairperson of an organization like a park, you're constantly dealing back and forth with the township, trying to get stuff from them. They're putting up roadblocks, you're fighting and so forth, and negotiating as it were, right? And decided to get into politics somehow. Some of your friends?
Some of my friends convinced me that might be a wise thing to do.
Right.
Since I was as involved as I was in the community already.
Well, you're doing a lot for the community, and I know you don't want to blow your own horn, so I'll do it for you, but you did a lot for the community, so it's only fitting that you actually take a post and do even more.
Yeah,
so,
that's what they thought too.
So 2010, you ran for Ward 4.
I did.
Got in, and 2014 ran again with a big majority.
Yes.
So now, a lot of times I talk to politicians, especially in municipal politics, who want to run because they don't like the way things are happening, right? They don't like the way things are being done. Nobody I've ever met in the world is 100% behind everything that a government does, regardless of what the government. So they want to go in, they want to change things. And was that your intent as well?
Absolutely not.
No?
No, I just, it just seemed like a logical next step for my life direction.
Right.
Truthfully, I had no goals that I was aspiring to be quite honest.
Yeah, but you went into politics with the intent, especially the second election, of doing it for as long as you possibly could, right? As long as the people wanted you to be there. I mean, it wasn't like I'm just going to do this for 4 years and then pack it in sort of thing.
No, I don't think I ever, truthfully, ever thought about it. I certainly haven't put an end date on it unless the people do for me. Yeah, there's no best before date on mayors. No, absolutely not. Because I find that the only way you can accomplish things is to stay with it for a long time. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be bored after 2 years, I'm going to start doing something else. You won't accomplish anything because politics is a slow-moving process. It doesn't move overnight, and that's where I see a lot of people, drop the ball. They think they're going to change it overnight, and they can't, and it takes time. Right? And that's probably one of the most frustrating parts of the job is the time it takes to accomplish something. Yeah, and is that because of the, like in a 30,000-foot level, is that because of the due diligence process? Is it because, why does it take so long for certain things to happen? Well, for a lower tier municipality such as us, there's all kinds of commenting agencies, for example, for planning. Mm-hmm. So you have to wait for a health department, or you have to wait for conservation authority, you have to wait for the region. In some cases, you have to wait for the province if it's anywhere near, a highway or. Right. So all of them have a say in what we as a municipality are doing. So that's one of the reasons it takes a long time. Due diligence, absolutely. Yeah. But you're dependent on everybody else. You can't. It's not like your own business where you say, okay, today I'm going to do this, and you go out and you do it, and that's the end of conversation. No, and you work with the constituents or the residents' dollars, so you do have to be careful on how you use them and make things work. Yeah, you're accountable to the residents, basically. You are. Right? You are. And I'm sure you please every one of them all the time. Oh, absolutely. That's got to be the toughest part, I think, because you're never going to please everybody. You're just not. No matter how hard you try or how much good you do, there's always going to be people. Somebody was commenting the other day about the water issue in Scugog, but then I found out that water is really a regional entity. It is. It's not a local. So there is an odor to the water in some places, and as a municipality, there's not much you can do about it. It's a regional jurisdiction. And to that point, they are replacing some wells. Right. But I don't know if that will solve the odor issue. Yeah. I mean, the water is fine to drink, so it's nothing wrong with that. It's just, So now politics is in your blood. Now, I wanted to take it back for a sec. We talked about your dad a few minutes ago. As you mentioned, he's 93 and going strong. And he was also in politics. He was a councillor, correct? He was. He was a councillor and then an area councillor. Okay. And which is now regional council. Oh, okay. And then he ran for mayor and was defeated. Okay. So the interesting thing that I remember about him is the Blackstock Arena. He wanted to renovate that arena, and he went door to door canvassing for it, right? He did. He collected $10 at many doors. That's his story.
Oh, dear.
And it's still standing today, so they must have done well.
Now, they had a new ice pad put in 1988, another renovation about 10 years ago, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So the Blackstock Arena, like Blackstock is what, a third of the population of the entire Scugog Township? Something like that?
Yeah, about.
Give or take?
Yeah.
So it obviously has a voice. So he was, so he must have been pleased with what he did.
I think it was one of his proud moments, yes.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Did he take you with him door to door?
No.
No.
Not that I recall.
Okay.
I only recall campaigning for him when he ran for mayor.
Right.
And at that time I told him, I said, I don't know why anybody would do this.
Yeah, I've often wondered that. No, and you know, I commend you for doing it because it can be a thankless job at times, right? But there must be some pleasure, some gratification in doing it. So you were councillor, Ward 4, and then you decided, I'm going to be regional councillor.
I did.
Because the regional councillor at the time, Bobby Drew, went on to become mayor, right? Which vacated the spot. So was it different running a campaign for regional than for a ward?
Absolutely. There was a lot more homes to touch.
Right. So yeah, you have to be visible to everybody.
Right.
And obviously you came in with a landslide victory.
I did.
Which is great. So as regional councillor, things are different, right? You have an agenda every other week that's like 800 pages or some ridiculous amount that you have to go through.
Sometimes, yep.
Yeah, I've heard that. And you have meetings quite often. So you're the liaison between the region and a township, is that correct?
Yeah.
And but you have a vote on council?
Yes.
Okay, all right. You enjoyed it?
I did, but I actually enjoyed being ward councillor more.
Is that right?
I felt there was more voice.
That's interesting. I guess there would be because you're responsible for a specific area. And that's why you gave up the regional thing and went for mayor. There you go.
Opportunity came knocking,
right.
We'll say.
So, so as mayor, this is interesting, as mayor, that was a different election campaign again.
It correct? Absolutely was.
Yeah. That was,
I don't think there was a campaign.
Yeah, I know. It was quite the election. I do remember that. So it's been, what, a year and a half? 2 years?
Just since October.
So it's recent. Okay, so about a year. What do you think? Do you like it?
Yes.
Is it what you expected?
Yes.
Because, I mean, you've been involved long enough to know what's going on, right?
Yeah, it is what I expected. And I'm getting really good at delegating event attendances because I simply can't be everywhere all the time.
There are so, especially in the summer, there's so many events, right? I mean, you can only play so much golf, really, right?
True.
So I guess the question I have is you have 5 councillors, a regional councillor, and the mayor.
Yes.
And then you have a chief administration officer, you have a clerk, you have a finance person, you have a planning department. So what is the difference between council and staff? I mean, obviously the difference, council gets elected and staff is always there, but what is the difference as far as functionality goes?
Well, I would say staff do the main work. We set policy and direction.
Okay.
And they make it happen, basically. Do
they report to council?
Yes.
Okay, so if council decides as a whole, we're going to pave Carnegie Road, then staff pretty well have to do that?
It can be recommended to go into a budget, for example. Okay. And then once the budget comes and it can be fit into it, then yes, it goes somewhere on the plan.
Okay.
To be done.
Okay. So let's say that happens. So let's just say hypothetically that council decides we're going to buy another grader. Mm-hmm. Okay, $250,000. Let's spend that money, goes into the budget and so forth, and then there's an election and there's a new council in. Does that process still continue, or can new council say nope, we're not doing it?
The hope is it will continue, but a new council can change direction.
They do have
They can change the direction. Yeah.
Okay, all right, interesting. So, but as far as the actual wages and things like that of the staff, that's predetermined. That doesn't change.
We don't really determine those things.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to touch on, because our time's almost up, is the The new era of social media, which is something that hasn't really been around for much more than 5 or 6 years, and I'm sure you're feeling that, right? There's things like the Port Perry Bulletin, which has 15,000 people who have an opinion, usually not based on a lot of facts, but an opinion nonetheless. I've heard people say, you know, I don't read it, I don't pay attention to it, sort of thing, which is obviously not the right thing either, because somebody has to make sure that things get nipped in the bud if there's an issue. But you find social media is a good thing or a bad thing for running a township?
Well, I'm probably one of the ones that really doesn't read it very often. Okay. It's very easy to get caught into a rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
And very time consuming. I think ultimately it is a bad thing because I think that's what impacted our past elections.
Right.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of negativity. With the pandemic, there was even more negativity and a lot of keyboard warriors, I'd say.
Yeah.
With lots of different opinions.
I mean, it makes everybody's job difficult. And especially now that Google is eliminating Canadian news from their platform. So you're going to get a lot of misinformation. There already was a lot. It's going to be a lot worse now. And look what it did for the American politics, right? It just kind of totally destroyed it. Anyways, listen, our time is up, unfortunately.
Oh, that was fast.
It goes very quickly. It was very interesting. Thank you very much for sharing, not just your political situation, but also your life. It's nice to sort of learn the story behind the person, as you will. So thank you for being here, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for watching. Please join us every month for the story behind the person right here on Rogers TV.